Rebel Foods, MakeMyTrip, Info Edge, the company behind Naukri.com. These are not just names on a portfolio slide. These are companies that reshaped entire industries in India. And the VC who bet on them early watched them grow from the inside through the pivots, the pressures, the uncertainty, sat down with me and talked. And what came out of that conversation wasn't just a framework, but it was something very honest. The conversation that comes from seeing companies fail and succeed, and to know what actually matters. And here is everything. The first thing he said, and the only way he said it that made me feel that he had actually watched 100 founders lose, was that you need clarity of purpose before anything else. When you start a company, there will be no sales, there will be no validation, there will be days, weeks, maybe months with what feels like nothing is working, but it's those moments, and in those moments, the only thing that's standing between you and quitting is knowing exactly why you started. Not why someone else said it was interesting or an investor said it was interesting, but why you personally and deeply actually built this. And that is the clarity that we're talking about. And ultimately, that helps to build resilient companies. I know it sounds simple, but there's very few people that actually have it when the pressure kicks in. Now, he was very clear on adaptability. Taking feedback isn't a one-time exercise at lunch. It is a constant practice. It has been built into how you operate, how a team functions, and the best founders that he has backed are not the ones with the best original idea. They're the ones who keep listening and adjusting without losing core of what they're actually building. And critically, you have to know when to pivot. Not just to be open, but when you know it isn't working, your product, the execution, the market, those are very different problems with very different solutions. And the other side of this is equally important. Figure out what you as a company does best and go in on that. Go all in. Sometimes the answer isn't to just fix what's broken, but find out what's not working and hone in on it completely. Now he said something that completely reframed how I think of India as a market. He said that India is very unique and that it's not always in a comfortable way. We have very fragmented markets, we have dozens of languages, regulatory shifts, infrastructure gaps, and all of that can feel incredibly limiting when you're trying to build at scale. But his take was different. He said constraints are where the opportunity is born. When you have an inefficient system in logistics and payments, that inefficiency is the gap. And gap is an invitation. The companies that have defined India's consumer internet story did not win by copying a Western model. They built something that is very specific for India. So don't fight that complexity, sit with it, understand it, because if it was simple, someone would have already solved it. Giving everyone a voice, and especially your customer, this one surprised me a little, especially coming from a VC, because it wasn't about strategy or capital markets, but a lot about culture. And he said that the best companies that he has seen from the inside were the ones in which everyone had a voice, where the junior team can flag down something, where the organization is genuinely listening, and where that same principle actually extends outwards to your customer. So improving the customer experience is one of the highest leverage things that you can do, and the founders who do it best are the ones who are paying attention to the small things. Not just the big feedback surveys, but what a customer actually says when they have written in a complaint. Now we live, he said, in an era of relentless input. There's always another opinion, another podcast, another data point, or an article telling you something different. And that is the trap. The one that he has watched swallow founders whole is endless second guessing, analyzing that same decision from 17 angles, but not actually taking the call. So his advice was very direct. You do not need more information. You need conviction. Gather what you need, think it through seriously, and then move. The cost of not deciding is almost higher than the cost of deciding wrong and correcting it. Almost. Sit down, reflect on your purpose, not just as a one-time retreat exercise, but do it regularly, and second guessing will dissolve on its own. And I liked how plainly he said, titles are transient, do not obsess over it. The founder who obsesses over the designation or the ranking or some list or positioning is spending energy doing exactly what doesn't need to be done, because he has actually watched these companies and how they get completely distracted. Pricing changes, products will be launched, the team will react. Put your head down. Focus on why you are here, know your customer deeply, and serve them exceptionally. Let that be your North Star. The market will recognize the substance time over time. And for the end of the conversation, he said this. Companies fail. He's seen that. He's seen founders go through it when, say, your product doesn't work, when a pivot comes in too late, when the market is moving in a direction that was not anticipated. So he's been close enough to feel what that does to a team, what that does to a person, to a founder. And he said failure is the best teacher. Not because it feels good or because there's some silver lining. But when something fails, not because there's a silver lining, but because when something fails, it forces you the clarity that success will never give you. When you succeed, sometimes you don't know why. You can tell a convincing story about it, but usually there are a dozen variables that you didn't control. But when you fail, the signal is very specific. So learn from it. It makes you a considerably better founder. So what really stuck to me about this conversation wasn't any single piece of advice, but the kind of quality thinking behind all of this. This is someone who has actually watched these companies from the inside out, the chaos, the pivots, the moment when everything is hanging in a balance. And what kept returning was not market size or unit economics, it's clarity, it's conviction, it's humility, and it's culture. And that is what separates the good from the excellent. If this was useful for you, I would love to hear what resonated with you the most. Do drop a comment in the comment section. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now would be a great time. I'm going to keep bringing you conversations like this one. Thanks for watching.